Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series, and it has been announced and confirmed that Rey Mysterio will officially be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame 2023 as its first official inductee, and for me, this has been a long time coming, long overdue, and quite frankly, well deserved. Rey Mysterio is finally taking his rightful place as part of wrestling royalty. And in more bigger news, not only will Rey Mysterio be the first inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame 2023, but he will also be inducted by former WCW competitor Conan. Now, of course, Conan and Rey Mysterio have had a long history going all the way back to their WCW days. And, you know, really and truly, it's an unusual choice because I wouldn't have picked Conan to be the one to induct Rey Mysterio. I would have picked someone like Chavo Guerrero to induct him because, you know, for me as a wrestling fan, I have more history with those two than I do with Rey Mysterio and Conan because Chavo Guerrero was Rey Mysterio's first WWE opponent when he burst onto the scene in July 2002. Even though those two have faced each other all around the globe, I would probably have picked him, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe Kurt Angle could have been a good choice to induct Rey Mysterio, but, you know, I don't make the decisions around here. It is what it is. But I am truly happy that Rey Mysterio is finally getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and it's well deserved. You know, I've been a big fan of Rey Mysterio for many years. I wasn't really familiar with his WCW and ECW days because, you know, I wasn't really watching it back then, but I knew who he was, saw his picture around, always saw his name coming up, but I became a real fan of his when he came into WWE in July 2002 on SmackDown, and for me, he was one of my all-time favourites during the Ruthless Aggression era. He put on loads of classic matches against Chavo Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, you know, Big Show with that whole David versus Goliath thing they had going on. He was a big part of the SmackDown 6, you know, so many great memories watching Rey Mysterio compete on SmackDown. You know, it was just a great, great time to be a wrestling fan. And for me, I would say Rey Mysterio is probably the greatest cruiserweight of all time. You know, there are other great cruiserweights out there, you know, but for me, I think Rey Mysterio is probably the greatest cruiserweight wrestler of all time. And the thing I liked about Rey Mysterio was he brought that lucha libre style of wrestling back, you know, because it was kind of missing, you know, for the most part, and he brought it back to the big time. And Rey Mysterio is one of those guys, he could have a good match with anyone, you know, regardless of their size, whether they were tall or small, big or wide, doesn't matter. Rey Mysterio could have a great match with anyone. And one of my all-time favourites was Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio at SummerSlam 2002, which was the opener. And it wasn't a very long match. I think it was about 7 or 8 minutes, but damn, did those two tear their house down or what? Woo! Unbelievable match, and it was just so fast. And, you know, my friend loved Rey Mysterio. He absolutely adored him. And, you know, as did I. I thought Rey Mysterio was so cool. And he may have not been the greatest talker. He was all right on the mic. It wasn't terrible, but for me, his talking was at his best in the ring, doing his thing, and he was just a blast to watch. He brought that acrobatics into wrestling, as I mentioned earlier, the whole lucha libre style. You know, I just loved it. You know, for me, Rey Mysterio helped put the cruiserweight division on the map on SmackDown, and he was a big part of that, you know. And even though he went to Raw, he still did good stuff. For me, his best work was on SmackDown from 2002 to 2005. I just thought he was just a blast to watch, and he had so many great matches. And I'm really happy he's finally getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. It's long overdue, and from my understanding, I've heard this quite a few times now, but I'm under the impression that Rey Mysterio could be well and truly on his way to retirement. Haven't really seen that come up, but if he's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and he could be possibly facing his son Dominic at WrestleMania 39, then, it's looking like this is going to be it for him. And, if Rey Mysterio is going to be retiring, then I can't think of a better place to do it than this WrestleMania, going into the Hall of Fame and facing his son Dominic and just calling it a career, because he's done it all. There's nothing left for Rey Mysterio to do. He's a legend. He's a Lucha Libre legend, and he deserves to go out on top. Whether he loses or he wins, the guy has done it all, and he deserves to go out on top. And, going into the Hall of Fame and then bowing out on the biggest show of the year, whether it's night 1 or 2, can't think of a better way to go out, really. And if I had to choose one match I always go back to watching involving Rey Mysterio, I love Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio at SummerSlam 2002. It's one of my all-time favourites, but the one match that I always go back to the most, and still do to this day, is Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit versus Edge and Rey Mysterio for the tag team titles at No Mercy 2002. Me and my friends just sat there with our jaws on the floor, marvelled and captivated by this wrestling classic. It was just fantastic. And for me, that was not only the peak of Rey Mysterio, but I think that was just the peak of SmackDown, period. I just think that was an incredible match. And, you have lots of great tag team title matches, but for me, that one really stands out to me as far as the Ruthless Aggression era is concerned. And as far as tag team title matches itself are concerned, that for me is my all-time favourite Rey Mysterio match, But as a singles match, my all-time favourite Rey Mysterio singles match, I've got to go with Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle, SummerSlam 2002. I just love that match so much. Anyway, that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. How do you feel about Rey Mysterio going into the WWE Hall of Fame 2023? Do you think it's long overdue? And how do you feel about Conan being the one to induct him? Are you alright with that? Who would you have picked to induct him instead? Would you have picked somebody else to do the honours? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care everybody and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening, and many congratulations to Rey Mysterio for being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame 2023. Well deserved.